It was the third big day of protests against plans to raise university tuition fees in England, with demonstrations across the country. In London, police were involved in a standoff with students in Trafalgar Square, and there were scuffles as protesters occupied Birmingham council offices. But as police discipline appears to strengthen with each new protest, the Liberal Democrats are losing the discipline. Now, Business Secretary Vince Cable is in the embarrassing position of saying he might abstain on the very policy for which he's responsible, and the Deputy Prime Minister is refusing to say how he's going to vote. Our political editor Gary Gibbon has this report.
Fewer arrests and smaller numbers than last week, but students were protesting against higher tuition fees again today. Thousands turned up to march on Parliament, before splitting into smaller groups that set off to march through London's shopping and business districts. Police sometimes sprinted to catch up.
Let them through the door, the rich and the poor. We want diversity in our university.
In Birmingham, student protesters stormed the City Hall. In Manchester, sixth formers walked out to join undergraduates who've been occupying university buildings for nearly a week. Other university buildings are still under occupation in Nottingham, London, Newcastle, Bristol and Cambridge. In Nick Clegg's constituency in Sheffield, demonstrators marched on his local party office. Back in Trafalgar Square, while protesters burnt images of Nick Clegg, he was down the road in Parliament discussing with his fellow Liberal Democrat MPs how they should play the critical vote on raising tuition fees in 2 weeks' time. Nick Clegg's floating the idea of getting all Lib Dem MPs, ministers and backbenchers abstaining on the vote, all in the interests of keeping his party in Parliament united. Neither he nor the Business Secretary Vince Cable, who devised the tuition fees policy, sounded very comfortable with the strategy.
It's not a satisfactory situation. I mean, it is absolutely right that I should be out there, not just promoting the policy, but voting for it. That's what I wish to do, very much wish to do. But there is a coalition agreement that Lib Dem MPs abstain, and we're discussing amongst ourselves what that means for individuals, and in particular what it means for ministers.
People will judge him on this. If he votes against, that's the only principled position. If he abstains, it's a cop-out. If he votes for, it's a sellout. Which is it?
Mr. Speaker, since she doesn't want to discuss her policy or policy, let me illustrate in real terms what this means. A care worker who's graduated from university, earning £21,000, starting on £21,000 and earning more over time. No, what people are interested in is what's actually going to happen to them in practice. Under our proposals, they will pay back £7 a month on average.
Nick Clegg decided to test out the policy of a mass abstention by his own MPs on tuition fees in order to keep his parliamentary party united. But here they see it as a sign of weakness and they intend to keep pushing. Who do you think you're trying to pressurise with this campaign?
And it is actually working. I mean, they moved from a position where, no, we're going to toe the party, coalition line, but now, even Vince Cable, I think, has said he's going to abstain.
He said he might. I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, true, actually. But the thing, especially seeing as he's the mastermind behind the whole thing.
But in the end, this is about trying to convince Lib Dem MPs, is it? To try and bring them over.
It's working.
We need them to not just abstain, but to vote against it. But I suppose abstaining is a step in the right direction.
Apparently today, the Welsh Assembly have announced that they're not going to increase fees. And that's going to ultimately be as a result of, what's been happening across England, the past few weeks.
And in Cardiff, the demonstration turned into a celebration. The students learned that the Labour Plaid Cymru coalition that runs the Assembly promised that though tuition fees in Wales would rise in line with England, no students from Wales would pay above the current fees. In Trafalgar Square this afternoon, bollards, fireworks and pieces of wood were thrown at the police. Some students trying to stop the attacks.
Stop that now! Making it worse for all of us.
Word of the Lib Dem MP's proposal to abstain gave many here a sense the ground was shifting in their direction. And many more demonstrators are expected in 2 weeks' time when Parliament decides.